CQ calling all radio amateurs and listeners. This is GB2RS, the news broadcasting service of the Radio Society of Great Britain. This broadcast comes to you from amateur radio station G4JBD in Mappishall, Bedfordshire. Welcome and thanks for joining us. It's Sunday the 23rd of March and here is the GB2RS news broadcast prepared for you by the RSGB for all radio amateurs and listeners. You can also find this news bulletin on our website at rsgb.org, along with links to groups and organisations that we may mention in this broadcast. This week's news headlines: we've launched our new web app. We can announce the unopposed candidates for the RSGB elected board director. And we're pleased to release full details of the RSGB's 2025 AGM. We'll have more on those items in a moment, but first we are excited to give you a first look at our new app. We've just launched the web version, which is a one-stop shop for all Radcom publications and club newsletters. You can find the web version at rsgb.org/Radcom. It gives RSGB members instant access to more than 10 years of back issues of Radcom, as well as Radcom Basics and Radcom Plus, and will add more back issues of Radcom from the archive in the coming months, making it even more valuable. All you need is your RSGB membership details to access the editions, and if you're not an RSGB member yet, you can still view a sample edition of Radcom through the web version of the app. And if you like what you see, you can become an RSGB member. Just go to rsgb.org/join, and then this will give you access to all the back issues of Radcom and its sister publications. So keep an ear out for news of the release of our RSGB mobile app, which will come out later this year. Now, for some roles in the RSGB elections, we received a single nomination. These include the 2 vacancies for elected board directors. Peter Bowyer, Golf 4 Mike Juliet Sierra, and Mike Savage, Mike 0 X-Ray India Charlie, will each take up the role of board director at the end of the RSGB AGM, which is on the 12th of April 2025. We interviewed them separately to allow RSGB members to hear their views on the current issues facing amateur radio and the Society. And we'll also have combined versions of their answers in 2 videos. The first is a short video which just has 2 quick questions for each, and the second video is the more in-depth interview. You can watch them both on the RSGB website and its YouTube channel. And for more information about each of the unopposed candidates, you can see the April 2025 edition of Radcom, or you can go to rsgb.org/candidates. Our 2025 AGM will take place online at 10 a.m. on Saturday the 12th of April, and that's to ensure that as many members as possible can watch and take part. The formal business of the meeting will include the results of members' votes on the resolutions and details about the election. RSGB President John McCulloch, Golf India 4 Bravo Whiskey Mike, will give a video review of 2024 and will announce the recipients of our annual awards and trophies, as well as the winners of our construction competition. You can ask the board questions on the day via Zoom or on the YouTube live chat, or you can submit a written question in advance. After the main annual general meeting, we're delighted to have a presentation about our strategy. Led by Board Director Mark Jones, Golf 0 Mike Golf X-Ray, there'll also be contributions from Board Director Ben Lloyd, Golf Whiskey 4 Bravo Mike Lima, Spectrum Forum Chair Murray Nyman, Golf 6 Juliet Yankee Bravo, and Bob Bede, Golf Uniform 4 Golf Uniform 4 Yankee Oscar X-Ray, who will at that point be the new RSGB President. To find out more, you can go to rsgb.org/AGM. Maritime Radio Day 2025 starts at 1200 UTC on the 14th of April and finishes at 2200 UTC on the 15th of April. The annual event commemorates the almost 100 years of wireless telegraphy service for seafarers, which ended in the UK with the closure of Portishead Radio on the 30th of April 2000. The event is a great opportunity to have a contact with former marine radio officers and coast station professionals who will exchange details of their previous ships and coastal stations. The mode of operation is Morse code on all HF bands, including WARC. You can earn a certificate of participation when you submit results. Amateur licence holders can register to take part, as Friends of Maritime Radio Day and shortwave listeners may submit logs. For more information and to register, you can go to radioofficers.com/MRD-2025. So that's radioofficers.com/Mike Romeo Delta-2025. Amateur Radio Clubs on the Air has launched a new activity for radio amateurs to promote their club, have some fun and to collect points for an award. You can use all bands and modes, including SSB, Morse code, FM, RTTY, FT8, FT4 and other digital modes. This is an ongoing award and you can claim contacts from the 23rd of March onwards. You can find full details on the Leicester Radio Society website at golf3limaromeo-sierra.org.uk, also via the Golf 3 Lima Romeo Sierra QRZ page, or you can email, and I'll spell the email address phonetically. It's Alpha Romeo Charlie Oscar Tango Alpha at Golf 3 Lima Romeo Sierra.org.uk. And now just a reminder to please send details of all your news and events to radcom@rsgb.org.uk. The deadline for submissions is 10 a.m. on the Thursdays before each Sunday's broadcast. And now we have details of rallies and events. The Pencoeden District Amateur Radio Club Rally is on Sunday the 30th of March at the Sarn and Brinkles Social Club. That's in Brinkoch Road, Sarn near Bridgend, and the postcode is Charlie Foxtrot 329 November Yankee. Entrance is £2.50 and tables are £10 each. Refreshments will be available on site, and public access to the event is from 10 a.m, with trader access starting a bit earlier from 8 a.m. If you need more information, please contact Ewan Jones. His phone number is 07791 709 691, and he'll be happy to give you more information. The Dunstable Downs Radio Club will hold its annual National Amateur Radio Car Boot Sale at their usual venue, which is Stockwood Park in Luton, and that's being held on Sunday the 18th of May. Excluding a break for COVID-19, this is their 40th consecutive year that the event has been run. And now we have special event news. There's still time to work special call sign Golf Bravo 1 Kilo Bravo Romeo. Radio amateurs in Scotland are on the air until the end of March, celebrating the start of official handover of the Commonwealth Games, King's Baton, by His Majesty King Charles, and that will be at Buckingham Palace for the Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games. Activity is on HF, SSB, CW and digital modes, and you can QSL via Logbook of the World, EQSL and QRZ.com. There's also an award programme available via the Ham Award platform, and to find more information on the Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games, please visit glasgow2026.com. The Polish Amateur Radio Union is celebrating 95 years of its foundation, as well as the centenary of the International Amateur Radio Union. To mark the occasion, 10 special event stations will be active between the 11th and the 25th of April. You can find full details of the event, as well as details of available awards and all call signs on their website, which is hamaward.co.uk. hammerward.cloud, and that's all one word, hammerward.cloud. And now we have the DX news. Heath, Victor Kilo 3 Tango Whiskey Oscar, is active from Fiji as 3 Delta 2 Tango Whiskey Oscar until the 27th of March. He's active on the 40 to 10 metre bands using SSB and FT8. And if you want more information, go to qrz.com and enter the call sign 3 Delta 2 Tango Whiskey Oscar. Bud Alpha Alpha 3 Bravo will again be active from Antigua as Victor 26 Kilo. He's operating between the 25th of March and the 2nd of April. He'll participate in the CQ-WPX SSB contest, and outside of this, Bud will focus mainly on CW. You can QSL via his home call, Alpha Alpha 3 Bravo, or you can go through Logbook of the World and OQRS. Aldir, Papa Yankee 1 Sierra Alpha Delta, is active again from Georgetown in Guyana as 8 Romeo 1 Tango Mike, and he'll be active until the 26th of April. He'll also operate on all bands using Morse code, SSB, digital and satellite. You can QSL via EQSL Logbook of the World. And now we have the contest news. On Tuesday the 25th of March, the SHF UK activity contest will run from 19:30 to 22:30 UTC. Using all modes on the 2.3 to 10 GHz bands, the exchange is signal report, serial number and locator. On Wednesday the 26th of March, the UK and Ireland Contest Club contest runs from 2000 to 2100 UTC. Using Morse code on the 80 metre band, the exchange is your 6-character locator. On Thursday the 27th of March, the 80 metre Club Championship contest runs from 2000 to 2130 UTC. Using SSB on the 80 metre band, the exchange is signal report and serial number. The CQ Worldwide WPX SSB contest starts at 0000 UTC on Saturday the 29th of March and ends at 23:59 UTC on Sunday the 30th of March. Using SSB on the 160 to 10 metre bands where contests are allowed, the exchange is signal report and serial number. And now we have the HF radio propagation report. This was compiled by Golf 0 Kilo Yankee Alpha, Golf 3 Yankee Lima Alpha and Golf 4 Bravo Alpha Oscar on Thursday the 20th of March. Well, last week HF was unremarkable. After the disturbed geomagnetic conditions on the 12th to the 14th, when the KP index rose to 5, conditions were a little more settled. The solar flux index hit 204 on the 17th of March, but then fell to the 180s. The KP index did exceed 4 for 3 periods on the 19th and peaked at 4.67. This reduced the maximum usable frequency over 3,000 kilometers to 21.24 megahertz. We also had 2 M-class solar flares on the 17th and the 19th, with the latter causing a coronal mass ejection, forecast to give Earth a glancing blow around the 22nd of March. As spring progresses, we may find that the F2 layer maximum usable frequency drops as we move to summer ionospheric conditions, perhaps to be replaced by enhanced sporadic E on 10 meters. Next week, NOAA predicts that the solar flux index may drop further, perhaps to 150 on the 28th. Unsettled geomagnetic conditions are forecast for the 25th to the 28th, with a maximum KP index of 5. This is a peak period for auroral activity, given the angle that the Earth makes with the Sun. The Russell-McPherson effect, which is caused by the alignment of the Sun and Earth around the spring and autumn equinox, means that you're twice as likely to experience the aurora in spring and autumn than in winter and summer. Well, that's all for the HF propagation forecasts. We now move to the VHF and up propagation news. And this was compiled by Golf 3 Yankee Lima Alpha and Golf 4 Bravo Alpha Oscar. The recent fine weather has provided some useful tropospheric conditions. This has been mainly towards the east and into the near continent, which seemed like nice timing for the 1.3 GHz UK activity contest, which was last Tuesday evening. Despite this, many participants reported poor conditions. The high is now moving away, and by the time you hear this, it will be predominantly low-pressure weather sequences from now on. This means limited tropospheric conditions in the coming week, and rain scatter comes to the fore as a mode of choice if you have a gigahertz band station. The solar conditions continue to provide a trickle charge of auroral alerts, but not enough for any significant operating advantage. As usual, it's a good idea to monitor the KP index for values above 5. Meteor scatter comes thanks to random meteors, so it's an early start to catch the pre-dawn meteor peak if you're so persuaded. Sporadic E is still in its closed season, and we'll have to wait until later next month when we could expect the occasional stirring on 10 meters. For moon bounce or EME operators, moon bounce path losses continue to improve until the moon's perigee, which is when it's closest to Earth, which will be on the morning of the 20th of March. Moon declination has been falling and reached a minimum yesterday, the 22nd. We have short moon windows and reducing peak moon elevation. 144 MHz sky noise started high on Friday the 21st of March, but will drop back to low by the middle of next week. And that's all from the propagation team this week. This is Golf Bravo 2 Romeo Sierra, the news broadcasting service of the Radio Society of Great Britain, and this transmission is being brought to you by Graham, Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta in Meppershall, Bedfordshire. Well, next we have the local news, and details of all RSGB affiliated clubs and societies are available on our website, and that includes email addresses and website links where we have them. We start off with news for the Midlands. The Bolsover Amateur Radio Society has meetings on the first and third Thursdays of the month. They're held at the Bainbridge Hall in Bolsover, and the postcode is Sierra 446 Papa X-ray. Meetings start at 8 p.m, and the next meeting will be on Tuesday the 1st of April. You can find information and reminders for meetings on the club's Facebook page, which is at Bolsover ARS. The Bromsgrove and District Amateur Radio Club meet every Friday from 8 p.m, and they have a regular coffee morning on Wednesdays in the club shack from 10:30 a.m. On Monday and Wednesday evenings they have nets on 145.375 MHz from 7:30 p.m. The Burton Amateur Radio Club has slow Morse code training on 14.055 MHz on Mondays at 11 a.m, and they have a club night on Wednesdays from 7:30 p.m. at the Grove, which is on Marydale Road, Stapenhill, Burton-on-Trent, and the postcode is Delta Echo 159 Delta Quebec. They also have an informal open net on Thursday evenings from 8 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 a.m. around 145.575 MHz FM. The Central Amateur Radio Circle, or Central Radio Amateur Circle should I say, has a net on 145.575 MHz from 7:30 p.m. on Tuesdays and every other Saturday from 12 p.m. And they also have a club meeting at the Bloxwich Memorial Club, with the next meeting for the 5th of April. The Cheltenham Amateur Radio Association has daily nets on 145.400 MHz from 8 a.m, and on Monday they'll have a DMR net on talk group 235292 from 8 p.m. Then on Tuesday they'll have slow Morse code nets on 3540 kHz from 8 p.m. The Wednesday net is on 144.350 MHz from 8 p.m, and on Friday they'll have a net through Golf Bravo 3 Golf Hotel from 8 p.m. On Mondays, Coventry Amateur Radio Society has an open FM net on 145.375 MHz, that's from 8 p.m, and on Wednesdays they have a Zoom meeting from 11 a.m. while on Friday their club night is at St Bart's from 8 p.m, and that's at postcode Charlie Victor 32 Delta Tango. The Dudley and District Amateur Radio Society meet every Tuesday from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Wrighton Mill, which is on 59 Vale Street, Upper Gornal in Dudley, and the postcode is Delta Yankee 3 X-Ray Foxtrot. The Gloucester Amateur Radio and Electronic Society holds an informal net every day on 145.475 MHz FM at 3:30 p.m. On Monday they'll have an informal meeting, and on Wednesday and Thursday they have a net from 7:30 p.m. on 145.475 MHz FM, with the Thursday net moving to 80 meters SSB later on. On Friday they have a net on 432.220 MHz SSB from 7:30 p.m. The Kettering and District Amateur Radio Society has a breakfast meeting from 10 a.m. on Sundays, while on Tuesdays their club meeting is from 7 p.m, with a net on Thursdays on 145.300 MHz at 7 p.m. The Kidderminster Repeater Group have a meeting on Wednesday, and that's being held at the Queen's Head in Wolverley from 7:30 p.m. The Leicester Radio Society have an amateur radio clubs on the air weekend, which finishes today, the 23rd of March. The Lincoln Shortwave Club will be at the BSA Village Hall from 7:30 p.m. On Wednesday and from 9:30 a.m. on Saturday. On Thursday they'll have a net through Golf Bravo 3 Lima Mike. On Tuesday, the Loughborough and District Amateur Radio Club will hold a practical night. Malvern Hills Radio Amateurs Club will hold their informal meeting on the 25th of March, while on Wednesday they'll hold a net on 145.350 MHz FM from 8 p.m. On Wednesday, Midland Amateur Radio Society will hold an open meeting, and they'll also have a shack on the air and training classes. On Thursday, Northampton Radio Club will have an FT8 live demonstration with Jason, Golf 7 Lima India India, and that's being held at the Grangewood Club from 8 p.m. On Monday, Nunsfield House Amateur Radio Group will have a shack night and club net on 144.300 MHz from 8 p.m. Then on Friday, the group will have an offshore pirate radio presentation. On Monday, RAF Waddington Amateur Radio Club will have a club net on 145.325 MHz or through Golf Bravo 3 Lima Mike if the frequency is busy, and that's from 7:30 p.m. Then on Friday, members will meet at the Pie Wipe Inn from 8 p.m. The Rugby Amateur Transmitting Society has training and practice Morse code nets on 144.275 MHz on Mondays and Fridays at 4:30 p.m. They initially start off using upper sideband and then move across to Morse code. They have a meeting at the Borton Lee 12th Rugby Scouts Hut from 8 p.m. on Tuesday and on Saturday from 2 p.m. Then on Friday they have a net on 1913 kHz from 8 p.m. On Thursday, the Salop Amateur Radio Society will have a talk entitled Me and My Shack, and that's being presented by HF Contester and DXer John, Golf 4 India Romeo November. On Thursday, Solihull Amateur Radio Society will have a club 2-metre net from 8 p.m. On Sundays, South Birmingham Radio Society has activities in the attic, and on Tuesdays visitors are welcome to attend their coffee morning from 10:30 a.m. On Friday they'll have work in the shack, and that's being held with Roger and others. On Tuesday, the South Derbyshire and Ashby Wolds Amateur Radio Group will have a net on 144.225 MHz SSB, that's from 7 p.m, and members will meet on Wednesday from 7 p.m. Then on Friday, also at 7 p.m, they'll have a net on 70.425 MHz. Tomorrow the 24th, the Sutton Coldfield Amateur Radio Society will have a net around 145.250 MHz from 7:30 p.m. The Stratford upon Avon and District Radio Society will have a Zoom net or on air on 145.275 MHz FM, and that's being held at 8 p.m. tomorrow the 24th. The Wolverhampton Amateur Radio Society meet for a club night every Sunday and Wednesday from 7:30 p.m. and on Sundays and Thursdays they have a net around 145.350 MHz from 8 p.m. The Welland Valley Amateur Radio Society meet on the third Monday of the month at the Great Bowden Village Hall. That's on the Green in Great Bowden, Market Harbour, and the meetings start at 7 p.m. On Sundays, Withell Radio Club have their net on 145.225 MHz from 7 p.m. and on Tuesday they'll meet at Withell House from 7:30 p.m. Well, now we have news for the South East and East Anglia. The Aylesbury Vale Radio Society meet on the third Wednesday of each month. Banbury Amateur Radio Society has a net on 144.5125 MHz FM most evenings, with a club night on Wednesday from 7 p.m. On Monday, Bishop Stortford Amateur Radio Society will meet at Farnham Village Hall for a presentation on Morse, and that's being given by the Essex CW Club, starting at 7:30 p.m. and all visitors are most welcome to attend. Then on Wednesday they'll have a net starting at 8 p.m. on 145.5825 MHz. On Thursday, the Bitton DX Club has a net around 145.400 MHz. On Sundays, the Bracknell Amateur Radio Club will have a net through Golf Bravo 3 Bravo November from 5 p.m. and through Golf Bravo 3 Alpha Lima from 5:30 p.m. On Wednesday, they're giving a talk on the subject of end-fed half-wave antennas. That's being presented by Mike Dunstan, Golf 8 Golf Yankee Whiskey. Then the club has a net on 145.375 MHz FM from 8 p.m. On Tuesday, the Braintree and District Amateur Radio Society will meet for a presentation by Andy from SDR Play. That's being held in the clubhouse, and it's also being presented at the same time on Zoom, starting at 8 p.m. There's also a club net on 145.375 MHz FM, to which everyone is most welcome. There's a special event station this weekend until Monday. That's for Operation Varsity, and that's being held at Markshall Arboretum in Coggeshall, Essex. The Breed Stream Amateur Radio Society meet on the first and third Saturday of each month, and their net is through Golf Bravo 3 Echo Sierra from 8 p.m. on Wednesday the 26th. The Bredhurst Receiving and Transmitting Society meet in its shack every Wednesday from 7 p.m. and they have a net through Golf Bravo 3 Delta Alpha on Thursdays. On Wednesday, Bromley and District Amateur Radio Society will have a net starting on 145.500 MHz from 9 p.m, after which they'll move to a clear frequency. Burnham Beeches Radio Club meet on the first and third Friday of each month from 8 p.m, and on Saturday they'll have an HF Club net from 4:30 p.m. around 7.063 MHz. On Sunday, the VHF Club net is from 10:30 a.m, starting on 145.500 MHz, moving to 145.275 MHz. The Bury St Edmunds Amateur Radio Society meet at the Rougham Tower Museum on the third Wednesday of each month, with club nets every day of the week except Sunday. Their chat frequencies are 144.7375 MHz and 433.400 MHz FM. The Cambridge and District Amateur Radio Club meet every other Friday, with the next meeting on the 28th of March, and that's for a presentation on surface mount device components and how to solder and reflow, and that's being presented by Mike Zero Tango Golf Hotel. On Sundays, the Chelmsford Amateur Radio Society has a Morse code net on 144.060 MHz from 8 p.m. Then on Monday, their Morse net is on 3542 kHz from 7:30 p.m. and that's followed at 8:15 p.m. by Golf Bravo 2 Charlie Whiskey slow Morse transmissions on 3555 kHz. On Tuesday they have a net through Golf Bravo 3 Echo Romeo at 8 p.m. and on Thursday they have Morse code classes through Skype, and that's from 7 p.m. On Tuesday, the Chelsea Pensioners Radio Club have their net on 145.375 MHz from 2 p.m. The Chippenham and District Amateur Radio Club meet on Tuesdays from 7:30 p.m. Also on Tuesday, the Colchester Radio Amateurs Club has open nets on 433.4 MHz from 7 p.m. and on 1.920 MHz lower sideband from 8 p.m. Then on Wednesday, their net is around 145.350 MHz from 7 p.m. and on Thursday they meet on 3.685 MHz from 7 p.m. On Friday they have an open DX net which is on 14.125 MHz with help on 145.350 MHz from 2:30 p.m. On Sundays, the Coulsdon Amateur Transmitting Society has their net on 145.400 MHz from 11 a.m. and on 3.700 MHz from 5 p.m. Then on Wednesday, the net moves to 70.425 MHz from 9 p.m. The Crawley Amateur Radio Club meet from 11 a.m. on Sundays and 2 p.m. on Fridays, and they have talks once a month on a Wednesday evening. The Cray Valley Radio Society meet at the Scout headquarters behind 61 to 71 Southend Crescent in Eltham, London, and the postcode is Sierra Echo 9 to Sierra Delta. They're running a 2-day face-to-face foundation licence course on the 5th and 12th of April. That's near Greenwich in southeast London. The foundation training package is £65 and that includes the online exam at the end of the course. Their usual web address is not operational at the moment, so you can use an alternative in the meantime, which is Charlie Victor Romeo Sierra .uniform kilo. Their FM nets are on 145.350 MHz on Sundays at 10 a.m. and on 70.425 MHz on Fridays at 8 p.m, with a top band net on the first Monday of the month around 1.905 MHz, starting on SSB and moving to AM later. And everyone, especially foundation licence holders, is welcome to join in. On Wednesdays, the Crystal Palace Radio and Electronics Club have their net on 145.525 MHz from 8 p.m. and on Saturdays they have a net on 51.550 MHz FM, also from 8 p.m. On Sundays, the Darenth Valley Radio Society has their net on 145.475 MHz at 8 a.m. The Dorking and District Radio Society has a net each day from Monday to Saturday on 144.775 MHz FM at 10 a.m. Then on Tuesday they'll meet at the Quakers Hall, South Street in Dorking from 7:45 p.m. And the Sunday net is on 3.772 MHz SSB from 8:15 a.m. Now on Wednesday they'll have a social meeting via Zoom. The next meeting of the Dover Amateur Radio Club is on Thursday from 6:45 p.m. The Edgware and District Radio Society meet on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month from 8 p.m. On the 27th of March, there's a talk on the subject of the history of the AR-88, and that's being given by Robert Mike 0 Yankee Romeo Juliet. Essex Ham has a net on Monday through Golf Bravo 3 Delta Alpha from 8 p.m. with chat room and audio feed at essexham.net. On Sundays, Felixstowe and District Amateur Radio Society has a net on 145.400 MHz from 10 a.m. with Wednesday's net through Golf Bravo 3 Papa Oscar from 7:30 p.m. Hammersmith Amateur Radio Society will meet on Wednesday the 26th of March from 7 p.m. at the William Morris School Annex. That's at postcode Whiskey 68 Romeo Bravo. On Tuesday, members of the Harlow and District Amateur Radio Society will meet from 10 a.m. On Wednesdays, they have a net on 145.425 MHz from 7:30 p.m, while Thursday's net is a digital one on the XLX215 reflector. Then on Friday they'll meet from 8 p.m. and visitors are welcome to attend. The Hastings Electronics and Radio Club hold a daily net on Golf Bravo 3 Echo Sierra at 10 a.m. and they also have a Morse code net on Monday evenings at 8 p.m. on 144.575 MHz, which is aimed at anyone new to Morse code or who wishes to refresh their Morse skills, and non-members are welcome to take part. That's then followed by general conversation. On Wednesdays, usually at 1 p.m, members meet up in the area for portable operation on HF and VHF using various modes. Non-members are welcome to take part, and the details do vary each week, so it's a good idea to visit the club's website on Wednesday mornings for up-to-date information about the location and time of their next meeting. The Hilderstone Radio Society will meet on Thursday, the 27th of March. The Isle of Wight Radio Society has a net on Sundays through Golf Bravo 7 Papa Oscar and Golf Bravo 7 Mike Tango from 8 p.m. and from Monday to Friday through Golf Bravo 3 India Whiskey from 6:15 a.m. On Tuesday they take part in the Bramble net through Golf Bravo 3 India Whiskey, that's from 7:30 p.m. and on Thursday they have another net through GB2RS, followed by a Zoom meeting from 8 p.m. Then on Fridays they meet at Haylands Farm in Ryde, where foundation and intermediate licence training is available. Itchen Valley Amateur Radio Club usually meets on the second and fourth Fridays of each month, and this Friday it's the club's annual general meeting. The Loughton and Epping Forest Amateur Radio Society has a net on Wednesday from 8 p.m, that's on Brandmeister DMR Talk Group 23511, with Thursday's net from 8 p.m. on 144.725 MHz FM. Then on Friday they'll have a Zoom meeting which starts at 8 p.m. The Lowestoft District and Pye Amateur Radio Club has a net on Sundays on 433.575 MHz from 7 p.m. and Tuesday's net is on 145.475 MHz from 7 p.m. They meet on Thursday evenings from 7:30 p.m. and the last net of the week is on Friday, that's on 51.490 MHz at 7 p.m. The Maidenhead and District Amateur Radio Club meet at the Friends Meeting House on 14 West Street in Maidenhead, and the postcode is Sierra Lima 6 Romeo Lima. The Martello Tower Group has a net every Monday at 8 p.m. through Golf Bravo 3 Charlie Lima, while on Sundays the net is through Golf Bravo 3 Charlie Echo from 8 p.m. The Medway Amateur Receiving and Transmitting Society has nets each weekday from 9:30 a.m. on 144.650 MHz. On Friday, the Mid-Sussex Amateur Radio Society will hold their annual general meeting at the Millfield Suite in Cypress Hall, Burgess Hill, and that's from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. with refreshments on sale. On Monday, Milton Keynes Amateur Radio Society will have an operating night to mentor trainees. On Fridays, they meet via Zoom for coffee and a chat from 10:30 a.m. On Wednesday, the Newbury and District Amateur Radio Society will have a talk on the subject of 5 reasons to get involved with packet radio in 2025, and that's being presented by Kevin, Mike Zero Alpha Hotel November. The Norfolk Amateur Radio Club has a net through Golf Bravo 3 November Bravo every Monday from 7:30 p.m. and that's followed by a Morse code net at 3.543 MHz at 8:30 p.m. On Thursday, the Reading and District Amateur Radio Club has a net through Golf Bravo 3 Romeo Delta. The Shefford and District Radio Society's regular nets are on Mondays on 1.985 MHz lower sideband at 7 p.m. and on Wednesdays through Golf Bravo 3 Papa India from 8 p.m. Now this coming Thursday, the club will have Morse training at their clubhouse in Shefford, and everyone's welcome to attend and take part. On Wednesday, Southdown Amateur Radio Society will have a cafe meeting at 12:15 p.m. and that's followed by a net through Golf Bravo 3 Zulu X-Ray from 2 p.m. The Stevenage and District Amateur Radio Society will have their club annual general meeting on Tuesday the 25th of March at the Stevenage Resource Centre on Chells Way, Stevenage, and the postcode is Sierra Golf 20 Lima Tango. The positions of club chairman and treasurer are up for nomination, and only paid-up members can vote. The usual 2-metre end-of-month sked is at 8 p.m. on Friday near 145.450 MHz, and that's to encourage VHF activity and to help anyone new to the hobby. The club call sign is Golf 3 Sierra Alpha Delta, and everyone's welcome to join in, regardless of club membership. On Sundays, Surrey Radio Contact Club has a net on 1.905 MHz at 9:30 a.m, while on Monday their net is on 3.710 MHz lower sideband from 9 a.m. Tuesday's net is on 51.550 MHz from 8 p.m, and Wednesday's net is on 28.078 MHz JS8 from 10 a.m. On Thursday, they meet on 70.300 MHz at 8 p.m, and on Friday they meet on 144.6125 MHz from 7:30 p.m, and they also have an FM net on 145.350 MHz from 8 p.m. The West Kent Amateur Radio Society has regular weekly nets. On Friday, the Whitton Amateur Radio Group will have an HF and VHF meeting on the air. Well, that concludes this week's Golf Bravo 2 Romeo Sierra news broadcast, which was brought to you by Graham, Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta in Meppershall, Bedfordshire. The news was compiled by the Radio Society of Great Britain, who represent amateur radio and radio amateurs in the UK and abroad. If you have a news item to share, then please feel free to email it to us as far in advance as possible so we can include it for you free of charge in the GB2RS news broadcasts, the Radcom magazine and the RSGB website. Please send it to the editorial team. Their email address is radcom@rsgb.org.uk. And if your news items are time sensitive, then it's important that you send them to us by 10 a.m. on the Thursday before the news broadcasts. The RSGB retains copyright over all material transmitted, and you can find information about amateur radio on our website, which is rsgb.org. And you can also download the full schedule of GB2RS broadcasts from rsgb.org/GB2RS schedule. Well, we wish you 7-3 from the GB2RS news team. We hope you have a lovely Sunday and a great week ahead. This is Graham, Golf 4 Juliet Bravo Delta in Meppershall, Bedfordshire, now listening for any calls or reports.